Вибачте, ну собакою, ну.
Что вы делаете?
Яка квартира?
Третий этаж. Третий этаж. Давай. Зачем ты меня бьешь? Нет!
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 Никуда!
Нет! Нет! Давай!
Нет, ты телефон взял!
So, hello everybody. Today is July 17th, Thursday. It's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in East Tennessee. So I opened up with that video. That is what's going on in Ukraine. That is the press gangs, conscription going on, lower age, anybody who could fight. The losses are there. They admitted 20 to 30,000 they can bring in the field a month. All of that. Okay, they're hiding. They're getting desertions as high as 100,000, I've heard. I mentioned before recent polls going out that they want the war to end. So when you see like Graham, they can hang on and all this stuff, like this is the real human toll. That is someone's wife or girlfriend or sister. I don't know. They're going into the house, they're taking the kid out, and they are sending him to the front lines. And it's just video after video after video of these things being shown all over social media, all over the world. Okay, and this is the reality that we're not being told in the West, and it's pathetic. And so we're going to continue this on for the likes of Graham and Cotton and all these neocons who don't understand anything that's going on, or they, even worse, don't care, but just care about the sure power and the continuing of this war to try to kill as many Russians as possible. Meanwhile, killing more Ukrainians. So anyway, I thought I'd start out with that video. But let's start going on with Recission's package, $9 billion. Breaking, PBS, NPR, USAID have all been officially defunded by the House and the Senate. Thank you, President Trump, congressional Republicans, and Doge. Well, Benny Johnson is a little bit incorrect. Well, it did pass 51-48. Now, it was $9.4 billion. Collins had a problem with something. They took it out. She voted against it anyway. So, unbelievable how that works. Might as well put the $400 million back in. But anyway, no, because of a motion in the House to recommit, it's got to be revoted on in the House, I believe, by end of workday tomorrow. I don't know exactly what hour. They just passed the Genius Act in the House recently. I don't think they've gotten into it yet, so we'll keep an eye on this Recission's bill. But you know what? It's not even the money in this. It's the fact that it's also defunding NPR, PBS, and USAID. That is a good political victory as well as an economic one as well. So that's good. Hopefully they pass it. So Representative Burchett on OAN with former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Burchett on next Recission's bill. All of Trump's executive orders, go down the list individually, make people vote for them. The Recission's bill should include all of Trump's executive orders that have not been codified into law. All right, so let's go for it. Put it all in. I think they have a better chance of passing a lot of them if it's spread out, like either department, or certain specific ones. You could do one big Recission's bill, but I think the chances of you getting more people to vote no grows because you'll have to tweak it. Maybe you could cut like 80% across the board of those Trump executive orders. But this is part of the agenda of the party, cutting spending. Okay? A lot of these were identified by Doge. A lot of these were done separate with Russ Vought and these executive orders, among others. So we should implement these rescissions as possible. Do it before the August recess, as much as possible. Okay? People are still in the summer. There'll be less hearing about the complaining about it and so forth. So I agree with the great Congressman Burchett of Tennessee's 2nd District. So I didn't listen to the whole interview, but I agree with him. You got to get it down. You could go item by item and see what happens, but then people will just want you people to vote no. So I don't know which is the best route to go. Okay, probably grouping them together where there's not 40 of them, but there's not one. Somewhere in the middle is probably the route you want to go. So, here we go. Breaking from Sean Hannity tweeting out. This is like one of his TikTok TikTok tweets that he's known for in the past. James Comer reacts to Jill Biden's former aide, Anthony Bernal, pleading the fifth yesterday. What's now yesterday? You plead the fifth to avoid self-incrimination. This isn't getting any better for the Bidens. This isn't going away for the Bidens. What is at stake here is all of these, blah, blah, blah. This is about autopens and his mental capacity and all this. This is Comer, who spends half his life on Fox News, who has done nothing. It's show, it's kabuki theater, it's a waste of time if you're not going to do anything with it. They're not even like sending criminal referrals on all these investigations. I would be shocked if anything comes of this. And especially with with the August recess, going into the new fiscal year, going into the midterm year, you're not going to see anything. Okay, this is all a waste of time. Comer just goes up there, blah, 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 gets some of the Republican base, in a flurry, and nothing happens. He's been there now since 23. What? Anything on Russian collusion? No. Anything on the Bidens? No. Anything on Hunter Biden? No. No. Okay? At least from this guy. So I just want to show you that they're making a big deal about it. This is what they do. Even Jim Jordan and them, they go on. That's the Fox News mouthpieces. They go on there for publicity and nothing gets done. Okay, you still have a guy was interviewed by Glenn Beck who works, for intelligence community. He said deep state's still there, fighting day in and day out. From Brennan, all the people that implemented the Russia hoax, from Brennan and all this stuff, they're still there. They're fighting the people on the top. They're strong arming them. Okay, they're dragging the feet on other things. This is it. Okay, so there's nothing that's going to happen here. Okay, the auto pen can't go nowhere because you got to prove what he knew and didn't know. How do you do that? So, and then on the incapacity thing, where are we going with that? We all know. Is there going to be someone prosecuted, whatever? No. Okay, so I think this is just a waste of time. I'm not saying do the investigations and then send criminal referrals if there's criminal. Otherwise, don't do it and waste our time and go on Fox for votes or whatever. All right? So let's go back to this. So Robert Barnes, right? Here we go. The most upset voters regarding Epstein files are exactly who Richard Barris, the People's Pundit, identified. Young, independent, working class, new 2024 voters. The same voter group also unhappy about Iran war risks and our Ukrainian involvement. Okay? Rich retweets it. Worst finding by far in this is the 71% of first-time voters in 2024. Every single one of the pollsters who got his coalition right time and time again all see the same thing. So about Mark Mitchell going with the polling on this. Now look at those key voters. This is my last video. This is Maha, young Hispanic males, young Hispanic females, Hispanic males, even young black males. These are your anti-establishment, disenfranchised maybe, okay, distrusting definitely people. These are people who would back RFK, old Bernie bro types, okay? People on the populist right, okay? All right, that was Trump's coalition. That is the difference between the Republican Party vote and the Trump coalition. Without Trump on the ballot, you need to keep these people engaged in the process, and you have to deliver on the promises you made. Now, the one area that's going smooth is Maha, but it's not happening on foreign policy, and this Epstein thing is a huge screw-up. We should be building this. Okay, as Richard Barris and others have pointed out, there is a gap down. Just the election results. McCormick's the only one who got close, right? There's a gap down from Trump to the next line Republican. Republicans did not win 2024. The Trump coalition did. Republican coattails helped. So we need to win and get it. So, how does Passaic County, New Jersey, nearly 70% minority vote for Trump? But they still got a Dem congressman. All right? You have to make those Trump voters permanent. If you want to be a national party and the leading national party, like a post-1932 Democrat Party going forward, you need to hold this coalition and make it permanent. But the actions so far on the wars and the Epstein files are breaking that down. And if we head into 25, right, we should be expanding and trying to hold the Virginia's mansion, flipping the Virginia House, and actually making a good play at New Jersey and get really close like we did last time. Chiatarelli is not an exciting candidate, but you get those people voting for Trump, get them out, embrace some of those causes and a slight populist traditional Republican blank campaign in New Jersey, maybe you could pull it out or get close where you can elect some state legislatures, have great local victories, and really build a foundation. But you're pushing those voters away to do that. And because you're pushing those voters away, you're going to relegate back to being the regional party in the South with some pockets up in the Midwest and a couple other places. That's it. Okay? They're not going to win if they lose these voters. Democrats are coming out. They're high propensity because they're more college educated. We are more working class now in our coalition. Okay? And because it's a distrust-based coalition, it's easy to lose them. If you deliver, forget the suburban mom, forget this and the Atlanta metros and all that stuff. If you deliver on the Trump agenda, and Trump didn't screw up on the Epstein files, and I still think he has a window to correct this by just dumping everything. Stop calling it a hoax. We know the Epstein thing's not a hoax. I think he was just referring to how it's being portrayed. But we got to get to the bottom of it, and people need to know because there's no distrust. He ran as a stop distrust, anti-establishment candidate. Okay, he also ran with the wars. We are not a bystander in the Ukraine war. We are the top belligerent backing Ukraine. And we want this war ended. There is no vital American interest, only threats to us. It is also solidifying the world against us. And he's going down this path, this stupid NATO path, by the way, which is not even, I'll get to it, but it's not even working with a lot of these European NATO allies. So it's key. And if you push those voters away, then the coalition is gone. And we'll get crushed in the 2026 midterms. All right? Next one. Here we go. The great Viva Frei. From releasing the Epstein files and no new wars to no Epstein files and new wars. And if you dare voice the slightest bit of concern about the trajectory of the administration, you are an anti-MAGA grifter. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Here you go. 2 headlines. Trump says classified JFK Epstein files will be released soon. Trump pledges no wars during his presidency. Go. So we bombed Iran. We're bombing the crap out of Somalia. We're doing this stupid NATO things that's not going to have any impact on the war. Like I said, just put Russian enemy together. Okay, this is not the direction this coalition wanted to go. Now that he's not running for re-election again, is Cotton and Graham getting their meat hooks into him and so forth. That's the case. We're a serious problem. Okay, serious problem. He need to go, by Labor Day, fix these 2 problems. Otherwise, I think things are going to get locked in. And that's a problem. And I heard people say, oh, he never ran on that. Yes, he did. This has been the entire agenda, the deep state, whether it's Epstein files, whether it's Russiagate, it's all the same thing. And we want, because we have no trust in these institutions, and we want them back, and Trump promised to deliver it. I personally think it should be gutted, but if you're not, but at least be as transparent as possible. All right? 5. So, Eric Doherty pops up. Breaking. California and Governor seek to add 5 to 7 Democratic congressional seats to the map by redistricting before 2026. A response to Texas per Punchbowl. Now, here's the interesting thing. Texas, a 55-45 state in presidential elections, has about, I think it's like 33-13, something like that, 32-14, Senate to House. So they want to do 5 redistricting. So it would be 30-8. Okay? 30-8. That's about almost 30% of the delegation for Texas will be Democrat. Right now in California, and California is, Trump got, I think, 36-37%, somewhere in there in the range of California, has 42 Democrats and only 9. 17% of the Republican electorate of nearly 5 million voters are being represented by Republican congressmen. So Texas is just going to come in line with California. So if they respond and knock out 5, it will go 47 to 4. Is that really representation in any way, shape, or form? Even if you only get 35% of the vote, not even close. You're going down to 10% of representation. So Texas is just getting closer to California by moving in this direction. And Illinois, I might add. Illinois, it's like 14 to 4. Okay. Meanwhile, Trump lost Illinois by 8 points. That's it. Okay. So you have to consider this. So they're threatening even more retaliation. But this is going to go so extreme, courts would have to get involved to stop that. That's why I think Texas maybe shouldn't go with the 5, should go with the 3, so they can hold up in court. And if they try to retaliate, they can say, no, you're getting way out of whack here. You'd have to create so much stuff. You see all the red is concentrated on the eastern part of California? How do you do that? You'd have to zigzag and pull people from urban areas along the coast into those more rural areas. That's hard to do. And then you get these funky maps. So, but it shows you all they care about is their power. End of story. All right. So, SBA Kelly and I to fulfilling POTUS mission to restore America as the world's manufacturing superpower and bring jobs back home. A key priority of the Trump administration, something I think is very important as we enter multipolarity. Through the agreement we signed today, the U.S. Department of Labor and Small Business Administration will collaborate to ensure our workforce is prepared for this comeback by expanding registered apprenticeships and other training programs that benefit small and large manufacturers. That's a great idea. Okay, because this is in factories of the day where it's like you got a piece, I put it on, you put it a piece, and he puts it on, right? It's like the assembly line, right? These are high-tech types of manufacturing who produce multiple types of products. So they're going to need quick training on it as these things get brought back and developed on, okay? Then they'll probably work with local colleges, the companies themselves, and so forth. But this is a good investment in moving forward in trying to reindustrialize. So I wanted to point that out, that they're just not hoping that like companies will come. They're making it so they really economically hard not to come back, but they're also preparing them that they have the workforce to do it. So they're thinking this through. They're implementing a plan when it comes to this economic development. Another area I give A+ on the Trump administration. So, so we don't talk about Epstein files and more war with Russia. We could talk about all these awesome positive things that are going on. Okay, but you got to remember, it's about the trust with the Epstein files. It's about the trust. And they want to have faith, people. And if you mess it up with that, even if you think it's little, and you're like, what about all the good stuff? Then how can we trust you on other things? All right, and that's the position of some of these people. All right, so let's go to Europe, Germany. Allianz, the big financial powerhouse of Germany, boss warns Germany risks becoming sick man of Europe. Of course. Right? They cut off the cheap energy. Their economy shrunk 2 years in a row. Siemens to Volkswagen to other companies have closed factories. Small businesses have been going out of business like crazy. And now they're talking about military, increasing military. Well, if you don't have the energy and the production, how are you going to do all that? So, this is, and I like it when the companies come out and say it, because they're seeing it in their numbers, everything. They're not as ideological, I mean, they probably are, but as ideological when it comes to running their company, because they still have to turn a profit. Okay? But this is indicative. France isn't that far behind. Okay? All right? This is another reason to end the war with Russia. Get Europe back up off its feet. All right, so what were those two videos? Those two videos. The first one was, that is Syrian Ministry of Defense being crushed yesterday by the Israeli Air Force. The other one was a military base in the Latakia region of the Syrian army that was going there. If you don't know it, Israel has just launched an onslaught against the Syrians. So apparently what's going on, this guy Shana, who's Jalani, the HTS guy, ex-Al-Qaeda / ISIS leader of Syria, cave-dwelling fanatic in a suit. Okay, apparently some of his militias were up against the Druze. It got out of hand. Someone died. He sent more. I don't know. The Syrian government said, we weren't going up there to kill the Druze. But it got out of hand and so forth. And next thing you know, they're in battle with the Syrian army. And if you know that the Druze are the only Arab people within Israel who can be conscripted, because going back to the 48 war, they sided with the Israelis. And there's a huge population of them inside Syria. So all these huge attacks are going on. Now, that also could be a cover, because Israel said, well, we're doing it to protect the Druze in that area. Okay, that's fine. But why are you hitting the Ministry of Defense daylight? Or it was like a live broadcast and across the street from a building, of the nightly news, and all of a sudden it just blows up in the background. The reporter, the anchor, just jumps off the desk. You could see her go flying. Okay, so why are you hitting the Ministry of Defense just to do that if you're just protecting? There seems like more to it. Is that just cover for something else? Are they trying to send a message to Turkey, who has yielding great influence over, because they're part of the involved with the Muslim Brotherhood? Remember, and these are also Sunni extremists that took over the Syrian government and close to Erdogan and Turkey. I don't know. And Syria is trying, and Israel just wants to continually weaken Syria to their east. They still haven't left the territory they took when Assad Syria fell months ago. So we'll keep an eye on, see what's going on with Syria as well. I heard something like 400 Druze have already been killed and so forth in these conflicts. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, this headline: Trump rules out long-range missiles for Ukraine. That's good. Okay, because there was talk of Tomahawks. Okay, now what I'm hearing is that Tomahawks can be nuclear tipped. So if you're Russia and you're launching a huge missile into Moscow, and the Financial Times reported that Trump was encouraging with Zelensky on the phone call that, yeah, can you do it? We got to get you the weapons to do that. He denied it. I don't know what the source FT uses, if it's true, but they denied it. He clearly is not sending those kind of missiles, okay? Because if they can be nuclear tipped, Russia's got to assume that's what it is, and they'll respond accordingly. They're not going to assume, maybe it's, confetti. They're going to say, if it can carry nuclear weapons, we have to assume it's carrying nuclear weapons. Okay, those aren't ATACMS and scalps and storm shadows. Okay, even the Tauruses, I believe, can be nuclear tipped as well. So that's why I think the Germans held back on the Tauruses. But this is good. So you have this NATO deal. We're going to sell NATO weapons, and then they're going to give it to Ukraine. But I understand Italy's opting out. France is opting out. They're choosing to develop their own weapons or whatever. Okay, then you have the 18th package from the European Union of sanctions against Russia has been blocked by FICO, because we get our gas from Russia. Our country, our people need that energy. Okay, so he's sticking up for his people in this situation. So this whole thing is just a debacle. The 10, whatever number Patriot missiles are going there. You need 2 to shoot 1 down. If they're accurate, they're not going to take down Iskanders and hypersonic missiles. They're not going to make any impact. They'll probably be gone in 48 hours after being used, considering the onslaught that Russia has been leashing against anything. Warehouses, training, anything that has any relatable military target, they are just hitting day and night. Okay, right now. Not giving the missiles was a good thing. Okay, so I just say cut this off so more of those Ukrainian kids, like we saw in the opening video, don't get sent to the meat grinder to die. All right. So this whole NATO weapons thing is not gonna, it's not gonna. And then these weapons already made. Are we sending more? We know that Eldridge Colby and Hegseth blocked the weapons going over at the first, or paused it because of our own stocks are low. So do we need deliveries to come? When would this go into shape? Okay. And then this whole threat of tariffs and secondary tariffs. We don't import much from Russia. How many times do you pick up something made in Russia? But what we do get? Uranium. And we get, I believe, nitrogen for fertilizer. So those are 2 things that affect our energy, our nuclear plants, among other things, and fertilizer in the food. It's already seen the highest inflation. So I don't. First of all, we can't get our uranium ourselves. That you can go back to the Clintons and the whole Uranium One deal. But they don't think it through. And the Russians aren't scared. They could care less. Russia isn't sounding rattled by Trump's ultimatum. Russian officials and commentators have shown little indication that Moscow is about to change course under new pressure. It's not going to affect them. They can kill us. They are selling everything they're selling. Listen, they just got a contract for what will be the largest building to be built in Russia by a company called Wildberries. It's going up. They had 4% GDP growth last year. Their manufacturing is through the roof. They're tripling their military manufacturing over U.S. and Europe combined. Okay? And they did this all on the 17 sanctions package from Europe, a gazillion from the United States, and they're exporting like crazy. They have customers for all their natural resources, among their industrial products as well. It's not going to affect them. All we're doing is putting Russia and China even closer together. Matter of fact, China's verbal responses were harder and saying, we're with Russia even more, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So all we're doing is pushing these countries together, the global south under that umbrella, and facilitating the increased use of trading in their own currencies and the rollout of all these alternative financial systems at a quicker pace that put the American people at risk. That's it. That's all we're doing. And these neocons got to get away from Trump. Trump's got to go back to his initial instincts, or listen to Tulsi Gabbard, get rid of these other ones, bring in McGregor and Davis and all these other people who know what the hell they're doing, who understand the world, the history, the culture. So how is the war doing? Here's a little montage, okay? We'll start on the top one. That's Pokrovsk. They're moving. Russians are moving. That's the southern Donetsk province, right? That's like the last area in the south. They're being entrapped. I'm hearing 30 days, 40 days by the time that Ukraine will have to be pulled out. All right? Where we go? Bottom slide here. Bottom left slide. That's northern Donetsk. They just took the town of Popov Yar. Okay? They're moving there well. They're gaining ground at Chasiv Yar, and they're going to put pressure on Konstantinivka, another possible 30 days to fall. Once that falls, behind it is Liman and Sloviansk, and then the rest of Donetsk is completely under the control, like Luhansk, under the Russian Federation. Sloviansk is symbolic because that is where the separatist movement began in 2014 after the coup took place on the Maidan. So that's where the origination of the Donbass separatist movement began, and I guess the start of the war. All right. Middle slide on the left here, that's gains made. This is Kherson in the far west, okay? Across the Dnieper River, took another village here. This village on the top right, this is Sumy, down the south. Took another village here, driving south even more, okay? Also, to the east, Russian is exploiting a bridgehead in the Kharkiv region, taking more territory in Kharkiv. This is Zaporozhye. They're taking a village there. I couldn't pronounce it, so I'm not. So it's like Demonotske or something to that effect. So you go. In every oblast, they're making gains. And that's 24 to 48 hours. They've taken towns in every oblast along it. Dnipropetrovsk, Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donetsk. They control Lugansk now. Kharkiv and Sumy. Also, they're making gains now in Volchansk, which is basically, when I mean rubble, it's flat. Used to have high rises. They are literally a foot tall. There's nothing there. But they've made huge gains in that area as well, finally. And that went quiet once it got completely destroyed. But now they're deciding it because I think it's an important location where it is, Volchansk. It was an industrial city before it was completely destroyed, but they're making gains there as well. And that's in Kharkiv region. So you're looking at serious gains across the board. They're accelerating. They're slow. Drones make it difficult to do it. You have open ground. That's how a lot of these areas are. But they are accelerating their gains from where they were 6 months ago, without a doubt. So that's my video for today. We'll keep an eye out to see on that Rescission Bill pass. I'll put it on next when that goes. Whatever. See where we take the next step with the rescissions package. Keep an eye on this polling data. That's not been good for us because of this Epstein thing, and the war situation. So hopefully we can get some good and reversals on that and see where it goes. I hope we keep getting good economic news. The producer prices were good yesterday, so I like that. Other election news, registrations are still favoring us and so forth. But remember, it's about the coalition. So I'll be keeping an eye out on that, as well as any news that comes in the Syria situation in Israel. And, I still think the Israeli-Iran war is not over. I think there's Iranians are biding their time, reorganizing. We'll see if any news comes out on that front. Any more BRICS news that might come out as we go into the weekend. So you can follow me on my X at Patriot Planner 1 and on my Getter at Patriot Planner. And if you like this video, and I hope you did, please like, follow, and share. All right? Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll be posting. Enjoy the weekend.